Was sentenced to 19 years in prison. For 19 years, he was humiliated. He was finally stole a loaf of bread. He was sentenced to 19 years in prison. For 19 years, he was humiliated. He was finally released from prison, but the warden made things difficult. He had to haul the mast, which weighed hundreds of pounds, by himself. If someone else had done it, it would have been impossible. But as it happened, he was born with natural strength. He picked up the mast and slammed it down in front of the warden. Seeing that he couldn't do it, the warden had no choice but to pull out his power. But to Billy's surprise, Billy was surprised to learn that his release order stated that he was extremely dangerous. He was required to report regularly to a designated police station. If he didn't go once, he'd be arrested again. Billy was furious. He stole that loaf of bread because his nephew was about to starve to death, and he'd been paying for that loaf of bread for 19 years. Isn't that enough? But in the eyes of the warden, once a thief, always a thief. He's a thief for life. He had to defend the justice in his heart, to protect those who obey the law. But he had no choice. Billy had no choice but to leave with his anger. But even after he escaped the prison, it was just another prison. He wandered around looking for work, but no one wanted to hire a dangerous man. The adults humiliated him. Even the children followed suit. They laughed and taunted him in the streets. At night, the innkeeper wouldn't even let him sleep in the stable. They didn't want him to dirty their place. Starving and cold, he had to walk through the snow to a cemetery. He found a corner to sleep in. Suddenly, an old man appeared in front of him. It turns out that this is not a cemetery. It was a church. The kind priest took him inside. He gave him food, clothing, and a warm bed. But Billy had already suffered so much. He couldn't believe that anyone could be so unselfish. He even wondered if the old man had ulterior motives. In the dark of night, he stole all the silverware and left in a hurry. But he didn't get far. He was caught by the local police. They caught him red-handed. Billy knew he'd never get out of jail, but he never expected. The priest told the police that he'd given the silverware to Billy of his own free will. Then he turned round and took a pair of the most expensive candlesticks, said Billy had left in a hurry, and had forgotten to take them. The police had no choice but to let Billy go. The police had no choice but to let Billy go. After they left, the preacher gave him a profound warning that he should make good use of this precious silverware and become a good and upright man, for which he had been so kind. Billy was shocked that the world wasn't completely rotten, and he couldn't believe he'd become a thief and run away like a dog from a thief. Had he really gone off the deep end?